Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming today. Today's topic is it's okay when animal Reiki doesn't work, and we're going to talk a lot about that. Before I get into that, though, I want to remind you all that Scarlet Ravin, who is an alchemist, she's a healer. She is the most wonderful woman. She has a beautiful line of products through White Fox Medicinals. She's coming to talk to us about a new school that she has. And it's not going to be a sales pitch about our school. If you are interested at the end, it's like a really small fee. I think it's $15 a month. She's giving away so much, but she's going to come and talk to us about the different pillars of healing for ourselves and how we can get a lot of healing from the earth and from natural products. And we don't necessarily always have to go a route that's more westernized. And it's not to say that Western medicine isn't good. We're not going to be talking about that. It's just that you always have other alternatives. And I know for myself, I've done some more natural healing for things like I had hyperthyroidism and they wanted to put me on medication for the rest of my life. And for me personally, I was like, that doesn't sound right. It sounds like hyperthyroidism, autoimmune. I should be able to get on top of this, right? So I did acupuncture and things. So Scarlett's going to be here next week just to talk about different ways you can help support yourself. She's not here to say, hey, quit taking your medicines or Western medicine is bad. It's just more information. And what I love about Scarlett is that she presents everything in such a wonderful, loving manner. And she meets everyone where they are. So I really hope you can join next week. And if you can't, be sure to listen to the recording because Scarlett is just amazing. And I think what I'm going to do, because I believe in it so much, I want to give away a jar of the love cream. So if you come, I'll put you in a little drawing and we'll ship out a love cream, one or two, out to some lucky people. So make sure you come, join in with Scarlett, and have a chance to win her beautiful love cream, which I swear by it. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today, which is why animal Reiki doesn't always work and why that's okay, right? So I don't care who you are, even Kathleen Prasad, right? I've been doing this for 17 years. Kathleen's been doing it for 25 years. We all have a certain expectation that healing can occur or should occur because we're offering Reiki. So, for example, at the shelter, when you go in and you're with a dog for the first time or a cat and they've been there at the shelter, of course, there is that part of you that wants them to be adopted, right? That there's that part of you that's like, oh, the best situation for this animal would be if this animal were adopted. And sometimes that's not necessarily the case. It's our humanness that starts to get involved in, oh, I know what's best. And of course we do know what's best. I mean, in some ways, we have a lot of experience or a lot of, oh, sorry, I'm letting people in as I'm talking. Sorry about that. We have a lot of experience with this, or we know, or we're familiar with the shelter. We kind of know like, oh, this is a great family, whatever that is. We think we know best. And so we go into these situations with an expectation. It is a loving expectation. It comes from the best place of us. It's not like we're trying to put our opinion on something or put our will on something else because it's negative. We're not trying to manipulate the situation. We really honestly want what's best for that animal, but sometimes we get really narrow-minded about that. And the story that comes to mind for me is this dog, Minnie. Minnie was a rat terrier, and she had come into the Humane Society of the Silicon Valley because her owner, after 10 years, her person gave her to the shelter because her partner didn't like Minnie. So Minnie was in high just stress, panic mode for weeks. And so finally, that's when I started volunteering. I think she'd been there like 2 or 3 weeks and just panicked. She didn't really like it when people came into they had little apartments. So it was a really nice enclosure and everything, but it's still the shelter. And so I started doing Reiki with Minnie. And at the time, I was only doing one session a week. I wasn't doing distant sessions with her. I was only doing one session a week. And by the end of the month, it was really beautiful because Minnie had completely calmed down. You could go into her apartment. She was calm. She was happy. She was eating. It was just such a beautiful thing. She loved Reiki. She calmed down when she would see me. I mean, it was just beautiful. And of course, what am I thinking the whole time? Oh, I hope she gets adopted. I hope she gets adopted. I hope she gets adopted, right? So of course, she gets adopted because they can see, oh, she's really calm. Well, she goes to a woman who was practicing Caesar Milan techniques. Now, I have my own opinions about Caesar. Caesar's techniques work for Caesar because Caesar is Caesar. Caesar's techniques in a bubble don't always work. So what this woman was doing was she would put food down for Minnie to eat, but then put her foot in front of it. Well, finally, Minnie bit her foot. So she brought her back. Then when Minnie was going through intake, they didn't put a muzzle on her correctly, and she ended up biting a tech. And then when you bite a tech, you have to get put down. So then she was going to be euthanized. Now, thankfully, I was able to be with her and offer Reiki as she's being euthanized. But there was a lot of human error involved in that. And I think it was a really good lesson for me because, of course, Reiki did help that situation. But I had so much of my own energy going into, oh, I want her to be adopted. I want her to be adopted without really seeing Minnie for who she was. Maybe, just holding space for her. Who knows what could have happened? And I'm not saying what I did affected it or didn't affect it. What I'm saying is I went about it the wrong way. And it came from a really good place of me wanting to help Minnie and me wanting Minnie to have a happy ending to this horrible situation that she found herself in. But I think that one of the things we miss about the shelter is, yes, it is a stressful place. Yes, it is. But sometimes it's a place of decompression as well for these animals, which is why what we do is so important, not to heal, but just to offer that support of love and no expectation. Now, that's one of the most beautiful things about the Let Animals Lead method of Animal Reiki. When we sit with an animal, we let go of all expectation, right? Or we're supposed to. We let go of all expectation and we just sit and we allow the animal to feel loved without expectation, which is what I was doing with Minnie at first. But then, of course, I start putting my own feelings into that. But what's really beautiful and the reason it works so well in shelters is when we sit with an animal and we let go of all of our expectation and we just sit and we just shine our light and our love, then the animal feels accepted for who they are without, all of these other conditions. So for Minnie, when I was offering Reiki at first, I was just surrounding her with love and showing her that she was important, right? And she was really leaning into that. She was really relaxing into that. But as soon as I saw her start relaxing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope she gets adopted. Blah, blah, blah. Then my energy is a little bit different. And it's not like she reacted differently to me, but I think had I just let go and allowed her to feel just supported without that expectation, she needs to be adopted, maybe things could have changed. And again, I'm not trying to take responsibility for this because, life happens. But it was just a reminder to me, and especially when I look back, that it's so important for us to just let go and just be that light and not worry about what happens. And so even though at the time I wasn't labeling it worry, it was worry. And that's why we have the precepts, right? For today only, do not worry. Trust in the process. Trust that whatever is in this case, Minnie's highest good is going to happen. I don't need to try and find a solution, but we're very human, right? We want solutions. We want to fix things. We want to make things better. We don't want to let nature just run its course. We want to fix things, and of course, the butterfly always comes to mind, right? When you open the little cocoon for the butterfly isn't strong and can't fly because they have to be able to break through their cocoon. They have to build that strength within themselves so that then they can fly. We have to allow what is going to happen to happen. and not worry about the outcome, but stay focused on the moment, stay focused on what we're bringing. And it is so hard as humans. So like last week, we talked about using the symbols and mantras and why we don't use them with animals, we use them for ourselves. And it's such an important distinction, because if we can't be pure of heart, pure of mind, when we go and sit with an animal, then we're not really giving them that full capacity of just love and support without attachment, right? We're not allowing that to happen. We might be allowing a little bit to happen, but we're not allowing the full effect of it. And trust me, when we really do let go and just be with an animal, it is amazing what can happen. And it's not, and I'm going to try not to cry here because I'm going to talk about Shrek. It's not like when we're coming into these situations, I'll go back to Minnie for a second. We come into these situations, again, we're coming from pure of heart, pure of love, right? And so, but that humanness, if we're not careful, if we're not really aware, self-aware, which is why the tools, the symbols and the mantras are so important for us, even the precepts, they bring us self-awareness. So if we don't have that when we go in, yes, we can set the space. Yes, we can shine our light. We can do all these things. But if we aren't tuned in to what we're feeling and what we're projecting, then we're going to kind of taint that session. We're not going to get the response that we are hoping to get, or even just the effect. I shouldn't say the response. I should say the effect that we're hoping to get, which is always, and it should be, that the animal is able to fully relax and fully trust. But if we have expectation, and we talked about that when Lauren came, if we're expecting something or if we're attached to an outcome, that isn't possible. So I'm going to talk about Shrek for a minute, because this is a very important thing for me. So, you know, I've been doing this since 2007, very long time. And I know better. And I also know that when your own animal is going through a hard time or is passing, it's very hard to be there in a supportive way and not fall apart, right? So Shrek was at least 17 years old, and he was severely arthritic. When we got him in the summer of 2010, he was already riddled with arthritis, and the vet said he is probably in intense pain. So they put him on Galliprant. So he's been on Galliprant all these years. And, but he's a pit bull, he's really strong, and even though he limped and sometimes would kind of have some issues getting around, he was really strong and really alert, really vibrant. And so we moved in February to a new place. And I honestly didn't think Shrek was going to make the move, but he did, and he was thriving when he got here. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, gosh, you know, I might have like a few more months with him. But then this last Thursday, he collapsed, and he kept collapsing, and I knew it was time to put him down. So that was hard, right? You have to make this decision for your animal. And I knew he was in intense pain. I don't have the means to do hospice either. So he's a 60-pound dog. I couldn't do hospice. I live alone. Picking him up, taking him outside just wasn't an option for me. So I had to call the vet to come to the house. And so that I made that decision in the afternoon. And of course you have guilt. There's guilt. There's guilt. Did I make the right decision? Am I doing this too soon? And he was showing me signs. This wasn't too soon. You made the right decision. So I decided I can't sit here and cry and make this about me, because really, you know, for myself, when I'm crying, it's about me. I'm sorry you're leaving. I can't handle that you're going to be gone. I'm going to be alone. I love you so much. I want you to live forever. La, 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 right? It's all about me. It's not about him. Even though I'm crying about him, it's really not about him. It's about me. And I didn't want to make it about me. And that was really hard. I didn't want to make it about me. It was hard not to make it about me, because at the end of the day, he's going to be gone. I'm going to miss him. So I just decided that I was going to lean deep into my practice and just lean deep into all is well. You know, you are safe, you are loved, all is well. Not just for him, but for me, because I needed that at the time. Shrek knew he was going to a better place. And I knew Shrek was a type of dog. He was a protector. He was with me. He was my shadow always. If I'm in a room, he's right next to me. If I go to the bathroom, he doesn't come in. He's not the type of dog that comes in the bathroom. He lays by the door. He knows every entry to the house. So it's like if I'm in the kitchen, he's going to block himself where he knows where somebody's going to come right through, right? He is such a protector. And I knew in my heart that it was hard for him to go because he's going to leave me alone. So I had to really think about that and think about, you know, this is hard for him too. So I'm just going to really lean into we are safe, we are loved, all is well, right? And I did. And and when I would cry, I would say to him, I'm just crying because this is going to be hard for me, for your physical presence to be gone. But I know you will always be with me, right? I just kept reminding him that I knew that we were always going to be together because I do know that. And what's happened since that time, I do know that Shrek is still with me, but it's hard still because we want that physical touch. So I just decided that I am just going to be there for Shrek in the only way I know how, which is to just create that space of meditation. And it's very hard to do that for me on my own when I'm sad. So I have guided meditations that I listen to. And I was just turning them on and laying with him and just putting our heads together. And, you know, sometimes he put his head on my chest or bury his head in my neck. And we were just in that space together. And it was a lot easier to stay above the pain of my heart and be at a higher elevation just by going to that meditative space and letting go of the need to fix or prolong or heal. And of course, you know, I'm in a situation where I know that healing isn't possible at this point, like healing in the way that I would want. Oh, I want the pain to be gone from his body and I want him to be, you know, strong. That isn't going to happen. And so for me at that time, that was a little bit easier, but it still is hard to say goodbye. It's never easy. It's one of the hardest goodbyes we'll ever have to endure as humans is the goodbye of an animal. And I say that even above humans, because humans, you know, they'll disappoint you, you'll have issues, you know, I don't care who in your life maybe has passed, whether it's, you know, except for a child, that's a little different. But I do tell my son, who is 38, if I had a dog that was 38 and you both died at the same time, I think, more in my dog just a little bit more because he never would have cussed at me. He never would have stayed out late. He never would have smoked when I knew that my dog would have. I said, so Cody, I love you deeply. And of course I would warn you, but you know, the dog wouldn't have done those things. So with humans, there is that thing, but with animals, there never is because it is a pure form of love. And they're showing us how to love, right? They're showing us how to be. And I was leaning into that too with Shrek, that Shrek is showing me how to be right now. Shrek is showing me that this time of transitioning doesn't have to be stressful. It can be really peaceful and beautiful. And he was a very peaceful giant. He only got upset if he saw other dogs, and which was really nice. We moved. He was, you know, we're on the 14th floor. He was elevated. And so he didn't have the energy of dogs. So he could hear dogs barking, but he didn't have that disrupting him. So he was able to have a lot of peace. And when we're laying there and we're meditating, he has a lot of peace. And I was just reminding myself, and this is something we always teach in the Let Animals Lead method, mirror what's happening with this animal, right? And you don't want to mirror pain, right? But if an animal is peaceful, mirror that peace so that peace is magnified and it expands and it gets bigger until pretty soon that peace is so encompassing that it's, you know, because when it's light, when you're in that peace bubble and it's small, right? It's easy to break through. But the larger you make that peace bubble, the more you lean into it, the more you release yourself to that, just that feeling of peace, then it becomes easier and easier. So he and he had a big, since he was an old arthritic dog, he had a nice big bed that was really comfortable. And so my other dog, Nina, and I slept with him. Um, and throughout the night, anytime he'd wake up to get up to go to the bathroom, or if he would just wake up at all and I would feel him, I slept with headphones and I would just turn the meditation back on and I would meditate until we both fell back asleep. And we did that all night long until the vet came. And when she came and it was time to say goodbye, it was really super peaceful. And you could tell he was just kind of, he ate his treats, but he wasn't. I've been with a lot of dogs, not a lot of dogs, but quite a few dogs all of my dogs, when they pass some dogs at the shelter. And, they're all different. And sometimes some of them are a little more, like my last dog that passed away, Leo, his body gave a lot of jerks. He gave a lot of noises. He defecated. There were things that happened with his body. Whereas Shrek just closed his eyes and went to sleep. And it was so beautiful and so peaceful. And I could just feel peace in my heart. And after he left, of course, it's so hard to be in an empty house without him. But I could still feel him with me. And when I closed my eyes and I let go of that pain and just focus on my breath, focus on whatever meditation, I can feel that peace with him. And the next day when we were out for a walk, he was a big boy. He was 60 pounds. He had a huge head. His head probably weighed 30 pounds. And I was out walking my dog and it was a really nice day. And there was this huge yellow butterfly. It was huge. It's this big, fat yellow butterfly. It was the biggest butterfly I've seen in the longest time. And I thought, oh my God, that's got to be Shrek. And it was really cool because it was a beautiful yellow butterfly. And I was reading that, that's a sign in some cultures that it's a loved one, coming through. And it's also a sign of rebirth and growth. And on the body of the butterfly, and I'll put it in the recap newsletter, it looked like there was a snake. There's like a little snake head at the end. And I thought that also is a sign, snakes are a sign of rebirth. And so it was like a reminder to my heart that it's just a different phase for them, when they leave us in their physical body, it's just a different phase. But if we're caught up in, I want to fix, I want to heal, and then the end, the outcome is a passing of an animal, let's say, or the animal doesn't heal in the way we think it should, then we have a tendency to say, oh, it didn't work. Oh, that wasn't right. So if I were caught up in, I've got to try and make this really peaceful for Shrek, and I'm feeling really stressed out, and I'm going to lean into how I feel, because here's the thing about humans too, and this is like no judgment because we all do this, and I think I've said this before, we are raised in this energy of it. We have to feel sorry for people when they're sick. Your mom feels sorry for you, or even if you didn't have a mother that felt sorry for you and tried to care for you when you were sick and gave you a lot of empathy and compassion, you might see it in movies, right? It's like drilled into us. When we feel sorry for something, when we feel sadness about something, then that's good. That means we really care, right? But animals don't need that. What they need from us is just to share our love and our appreciation for them, right? That's all they need from us. They don't need our pity, because our pity is a weird energy. But when we just sit with them with love and appreciation, that's a completely different energy. And what I hope the story of Shrek reminds you of is that we don't have to fix anything in order to have the deepest, most beautiful moment with our animals, even animals we don't know. You don't have to be in that fixer mode. That's not what they expect from us. What they really want from us is for us to be okay and for us to just be in that moment with them. But it's really hard, right? That's such a hard thing to do when we're in this moment of sadness, which is why we've got to do our practice every day in some form, whether it's hands-on healing, whether it's the precepts, whether it's just focusing on your breath, or just focusing on all is well, or you are safe, you are loved, all is well. I am safe, I am loved, all is well. Whatever that is, practice it every day. It only takes a minute. Just dedicate that, because when you come into these situations, it's going to be a lot easier for you to let go of healing and just step into being. And that is really where this power lies. And what I want to also say about like when Reiki doesn't work, a lot of times we think Reiki's not working when really Reiki's working on a really, really deep, deep level, right? So for instance, at care, and I'm going to use care because with wild animals, it's a really good example, because domestic animals, you might get some leaning in from them, even when like a wild animal wouldn't, they're because they're there to please us, right? They know that we need this. But at care, I remember a little possum came in, and Kristen thinks the possum was probably picked up by an eagle or something, because she had like big deep punctures on her back. And unfortunately, fortunately for the possum, but and also unfortunately, it'd probably been a couple days, so the possum had maggots. But fortunately, the possum crawled onto Kristen's property. Now, Fish and Game will not allow her to go off her property and rescue an animal, which is so absurd. But if the animal comes onto her property, then she can treat that animal. And so we were there doing a class, and here's this little possum just covered in maggots on its back. And Kristen was, giving a healing, and it started eating, and she had a lot of high hopes for it. So of course we were all sharing Reiki with the sweet little possum. And unfortunately, the possum passed away, I think, on the second day. And that was and that's sad. But hopefully most of the students, and I know I was, that when we're surrounding this little possum with love, the possum knows that it was important, right? It got treatment, it got pain medication. So it didn't pass by itself alone, scared and in pain. It actually passed in a beautiful surrounding with food, water, pain medication, and all kinds of energetic support around that possum. Now, if we were focused on the only outcome for that possum is life, then we would have missed the beauty and what was being offered to this possum, and how this possum was allowed to pass, not scared and alone and in pain, but in a safe enclosure. Because, Kristen had a nice little enclosure. She knew she was safe. She knew that she wasn't going to get attacked by another animal, because remember, they're wild animals. They know when they're vulnerable. They know when they're exposed and to another animal to eat or attack. So here this little possum was in this cage, completely safe, secure, and loved. And that is a beautiful outcome, right? But if we're caught up in, oh my God, the only outcome is healing, then we're going to say, okay, Reiki didn't work. Reiki isn't that good. I'm not a great practitioner. There was high hopes for this possum. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. You hear that a lot. Like, people give up on animal Reiki because they're not getting the results that they think they should be getting. But when we can stop and step back and really look at the situation, there's always healing on some level, but it may not be the way we think it should look. So I'm here to say that Reiki, animal Reiki, the let animals lead way, because that's the only way I know. And I do know it's always working, because we're always just sharing love, and love always works. Love is a higher elevated sensory feeling, emotion, energy, and love heals everything. Maybe not in the way we think it should, but it is healing. So I wanted to share that possum story because it so beautifully reflects the power of animal Reiki when we can stop and look at it and go, wow, that was really amazing. The possum came on our property. We were having a class that weekend. I mean, what are the odds, right? And this was such a beautiful setting for this possum, and she felt safe. She felt loved. She felt appreciated, right? She felt pure support. That's amazing and beautiful. And who wouldn't want that for an animal? So when we're thinking about, when you're offering Reiki and that comes in your head, oh my gosh, this isn't working, just remind yourself that it's not about healing in that outward way, right? It's about supporting that animal and making them feel truly loved and appreciated, because everybody wants to be seen, heard, and appreciated. And I don't even know where I got that, but I recently heard Brene Brown said that. So maybe I got it from Brene Brown years ago, but it's something I truly deeply believe. People and animals just want to be seen, heard, and appreciated. And in an animal's case, loved, right? If we can do that, then that is true healing. Healing isn't what we see with our eyes. It's what we know at our soul level and with our heart, right? And one thing I do, yeah, because I wrote some notes on this, true help comes when we let animals guide the process. And so that goes back to the mirroring with Shrek, right? Or even with the little possum. The possum couldn't really guide the healing process, but by coming onto Kristen's property, and Kristen's such an amazing person, and by all of us recognizing that here is this possum, the possum, crawled on the property. Okay, let's just take that as a sign. This possum wants help and support. And maybe the possum was drawn to the energy that we were creating on property by letting go, right? We don't know. You don't know the power of what you're creating, because when we're at care, as I've said to you many, many times, when we're doing our meditations, it is going outward all over the property. And the property is pretty big. So if we're down by Ngozi, we're way far away from the tigers, yet you can feel the peace go all across the property. And then when we do our walking meditation, you can feel it. It's all over, and it even bleeds out, so that even, the birds and the lizards stop rustling around. The birds kind of just calm down and quiet, and everybody takes part in that beautiful, peaceful energy. So I think that's about everything I wanted to share on my end. And I wanted to open it up to you. Oh, you know what? And so let me just talk about these big takeaways, because I was working on this last night and then I get talking and I forget. But healing isn't fixing, right? Presence isn't passivity, and trust isn't giving up. So we don't need to fix. All they want is our presence. And our presence creates trust when we stop trying to fix, right? Because if you're there and you're present, but you're trying to fix, you're putting yourself back to square one. So if we can sit with an animal and just be in that presence and trust, we have to trust that what we're sharing is powerful, and love is always powerful. So I just want to read these comments really fast, and then I would love to, this was a private message from Monica, but I will read it. And she said, I'm so sorry about Shrek, but yes, our loved ones stay with us forever. Love stays forever. And thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers. Thank you, Monica. And Anne says, we can ask our animal friends to return and send us a sign. Yes, that is very true. Because you know what, Anne, that's so funny you said that, because I did say that to Shrek. And I go, no, Shrek, you don't have to send me a sign, because I know you're with me. And I don't want you to think that I don't believe that you're with me. You don't have to send me a sign. And then when I was out, he did anyway. And then Cherie said, so sorry, Leah, what a beautiful light you were for him, and an inspiration for all of us. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you so much, Cherise. And then Claudia said, Claudia's ugly crying and her camera stopped working. Thank you. Yeah. And then Melissa said, Melissa is on a basic auto. Oh, okay. So, also, yeah, when we're talking about animals and true healing and about our own expectations, the best thing you can possibly do is just be with the animal. Dig deep into your practice, however that looks for you. And even for those of you who aren't Let Animals Lead certified, just listen to a meditation. Bring something into your energy that is going to calm you down and bring peace to your heart, so that then you can sit with an animal and elevate that energy, because they're already there, but they want us to connect, and together we elevate it. So even like, when an animal is sick, when an animal's old, like Shrek, when an animal is transitioning, they're still incredibly strong. Their body is weak, but their spirit is huge. And we have to remember that, because we as humans have a tendency to look at the animal as, oh my gosh, you're so weak now because your body's weak. But their spirit isn't weak. Their spirit is incredibly strong. Their spirit is bigger than ever. In fact, it's been my experience, the closer they get to transitioning, the bigger their spirit starts to get. And you really start to feel their energy even more, which I know is why it was so easy with Shrek, because he was expanding energetically. Like his body is going like this, but his energy is going like this. He is getting ready for something bigger and better. And now, even now, I feel him so strongly around me. It's like, and it's weird because I think always before, if an animal has passed, I've seen them in my energy as their dog body, right? Or their tiger body, or whatever that is. But with him, it's more, I feel more of an engulfing presence. And I feel like that's a new lesson for me. It says that, again, I joke about this. We always think our energy is confined to our bodies, and kind of, I think in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, our spirits are kind of confined to our bodies too, and our spirits are like this big, but they're not, right? Our energy and our spirit is huge. And Shrek is really reminding me of that by when I feel his presence, it's just this presence all over me, and not just, hey, I feel you right next to me. It's all over me. And I think that that's just another elevated way of seeing him and thinking about him. And I encourage all of you to, if there's an animal, and we'll do a little meditation at the end here, if there is an animal that you want to connect with, and just really allow yourself to believe deeply that there is no separation. So just like when we do distant Reiki, and we think, oh, not sure it's working, which is why you should always do distant Reiki with a friend's animal, because they can give you feedback, and that's always good. But we know from doing distant sessions that this works, right? So if it works in the human body on this plane, believe me, it's going to work even more on the distant plane. So in the Let Animals Lead method, you learn a meditation called the Healing Bridge. And I think we mentioned that last week. And that meditation is really powerful. Kathleen created it during a time when her own dog, Dakota, was transitioning, and she couldn't be with him when she was teaching. So she created this beautiful healing bridge. And, you can do the same type of meditation. In fact, maybe that's what we'll do. I'll kind of walk you through a healing bridge type meditation that will have the same type of effects. But it's basically a way to connect the light from your heart to the light of the animal you're thinking of. And it's really amazing how, in all the years I've been teaching, that probably 90% of the students, when they're doing this healing bridge meditation, and Claudia, I don't know, you're on the call, and Gilly's on the call, and any of you who have experience with this, if you want to unmute and talk about it. But what happens is, a lot of times animals from your past will come on the bridge and connect with you. And I really believe they're trying to remind you that we have a lot of guilt about animals when we were young, how they might have been treated. So, I'm 60. So when I was young, animals were tied up outside. Animals were treated a lot differently. I remember, I think it was in the 80s, maybe early 90s, when I adopted a dog, and they said, you can't let your dog sleep outside. He can only sleep in the house. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, that's weird. That they want it always in the house. Oh, and then now that's like totally normal, right? Now we would be like, leave my dog outside. Oh my God. So we've transitioned, but there's a lot of guilt, right? You can think about animals you had when you were young, and there's a lot of guilt surrounding it. But I truly believe when they come to us on this healing bridge, they're reminding us, don't feel guilty. I met you where you were. I know you had pure love for me. You don't have to worry about what happened. And that's where this pure love comes from animals. They don't judge us like we judge each other, like we judge ourselves. They just want to be with us in that beautiful energy of love. And that's what the healing bridge brings. And we'll do a little version of that at the end of this call. where we're going to shine the light from our heart to the light of whatever animal that, or it could be animals, because sometimes you might be going, oh, I'm going to connect with this animal, and another animal will come in, and that's beautiful and that's perfect. That means that animal really wants to connect with you. So allow that animal to come through. I remember one of my students, we were doing the healing bridge, and she had two dogs. They were Simon and Peabody. And I can't remember which dog she was offering her light to, but the other one came on the bridge. And she said, no, it's not for you. It's for this one. It's like, no, no, no. It's whatever dog, whichever being comes is the right being, because they want to connect with you. And, we all make that mistake because we get really literal in our practice. Like, okay, it has to be like this. And no, we have to just be open. So I would love to open it up to all of you. And again, if somebody has experience with the Healing Bridge and you want to share that, I'm going to put it on gallery really fast. Or if you just want to share something or ask a question about, what you might have gone through, or you have just something to share, I would love to hear from you, because this is a practice that we all struggle with. I mean, Monica says, we have a dog at the shelter, very closed up, scared, barking at the fence. But when you go in hiding in his house, shaking. I was sitting with him, thinking of him in my meditations, calling him to join me in meditations, and it lasted for months. And yes, I thought, okay, it's not working with him. Oh, this is so good, Monica. He doesn't accept it, whatever. But I think Reiki sometimes does other things. It opens the door, windows we don't even see they exist. So last week, a great person came to the shelter, a trainer, and I showed him to her. And you know what? Just a week later, I go on walks with him. If we have an open heart, Reiki makes miracles. I love that, Monica, because you're so right. It's not on our timeline. It's on their timeline. And I know that you experienced that also, that same type of situation with Heart, who was so Monica, for those of you who don't know, she's on staff at a shelter in Croatia, and they have like 500 animals, 500 dogs. And Heart was one that came from an abusive situation, and she was very shut down for months. And Monica did Reiki, all is well, did her little mantras with her, and nothing, nothing, nothing. And then finally one day, Heart just, boom, she opened up. And then Heart had a best friend, and she's since passed away, but it was a really beautiful opening. So, we can't, just because it doesn't happen in 4 sessions or it doesn't happen after 4 months, doesn't mean that it's not working. Because it would be like, I'm pretty messed up emotionally about childhood stuff, right? It'd be like if somebody took me to therapy for 4 times and went, okay, so you're all better, right? And I'm like, no, not yet. And it's like, well, you should be, because this is really powerful. So why aren't you better, Leah? It's like, I don't know, I need more time, So we have to remember that with animals. We can't put our humanness on them. And because when we do, guess what, you guys? We judge ourselves. Then we think, oh, what I'm doing isn't working. I'm not good at this. It's me, 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 me. And it's not about you. It's about the energy, and it's about being patient, and it's about just sharing love without expectation. But hello, it's really hard. Thank you so much for that, Monica. That is such a beautiful reminder. So I said I was going to open up. I would love to open it up for just a few minutes, and then we'll do our meditation together, because I really feel like this will be a wonderful meditation for all of us. So if you just want to unmute, go ahead. Don't be shy. Open up. I know you guys have stuff to say. Oh, Tamara, thank you so much.
Yes. Hi, Leah. I want to express my sympathies for you and Shrek, because I went through something similar last week, exactly last Wednesday. We had a senior cat that we adopted from the shelter several years ago. He was an outdoor cat who was trapped several times. He was always adopted, brought back, adopted, brought back, and we kept him. And he was really very sick at that time. We actually thought he wouldn't make it more than 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And he had been with us almost 4 years.
Oh my God.
But the last few months he was going downhill. We could see that he was already, he had hyperthyroidism. He was taking medication, but we saw that there was some other thing, probably cancer, coming slowly. But he was always going outside just a little bit and doing his own thing. And we respected him for who he was. And that's the way we had our relationship with him. But the past few weeks, he developed respiratory symptoms, a lot of distress. And the vets, we had vets coming to the house because he was extremely anxious. I couldn't take him out to see other people. He was always just getting panic attacks. So I had a vet team that was coming home. And they said there's nothing that we can do but prescribe medication to help his breathing be a little bit more calm. And then after a few days, he did get a little bit better, but the vet team was always pressuring us to think of euthanasia. This could be like the ending could be really horrible, and you have to do it because you don't want him to suffer. And I've already had a lot of different animals in the past, but I had this connection with Sultan, that was his name, and I just knew that he was a very feisty, very independent cat, and he always had to do things his way. And I was doing a lot of Reiki with him, and I was sleeping with him. I was really becoming a bit tired and a bit of a wreck, but I tried to keep it there. And I was starting to focus too much on myself. I think that's really the intervention I want to do. Is I started to think, oh, well, what will the vet think? Because we have to euthanize him. He's pressuring me to euthanize, and I don't think Sultan is really ready for it. And I was really in my own bubble of dilemma. And then when I finally looked at him and I sat with him and I looked in his eyes and I thought to myself, it can't be about me. It's got to be about him. And I sat down and I really, as you did, Leah, I tried to really remove myself from everywhere and just be there with him. And he got up. He went outside. We spent about an hour in the sun in his favorite place. And he passed on his own terms. He passed on his own terms, and it was the best ending I could have ever imagined for him. And that's what he wanted. And I honestly believe, and I'm so thankful to Animal Reiki, because I think if I hadn't been able to get to that place with him at the end, I would have called the vet, and that's not how we wanted to go. So I thank you. I thank Kathleen for Animal Reiki, because that really helped Sultan pass the way he should have.
I love that.
Thank you for letting me share this.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. And I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
A hard thing to go through. But I love that how once you stepped away, that you were able to see and hear what he wanted. And that is beautiful. I know I had an experience with a cat, the same kind of thing like that as well. Gave signs, didn't want to be euthanized, and instead passed beautifully just like that. And and so Cherise said, so sorry, Tamara. I had a similar situation, and I know what a gift he gave you and how much it took to give him the space to give the gift of transitioning on his own with your heart supporting him. It's true. And I love that too, Tamara, because you were able to give him that choice and he passed at home. And sometimes they'll pass on their own, and sometimes we have to euthanize. But what's important is that we're paying attention to what's being shared with us, right? It was really like, and that's where this practice comes in. Like you were saying, you were doing a lot of Animal Reiki, and it finally occurred to you, I have to let go. And that's what it brings to us, right? It's our practice. Our practice will bring us to that moment of clarity within our soul. We just have to be open to it. We have to quiet our mind enough so that we can finally go, like what you experienced, Tamara. And I'm so glad you shared that, because it's such an important lesson to remember that our practice will bring us to that point where we can finally say, oh, okay, yes, I hear that. And I know that Cherise experienced that same thing with her beautiful cat that passed. So I love that you brought that up, because our practice is what not only helps us support animals, but it helps us support ourselves. And it really brings clarity to our heart and to our mind, right? Because remember, in Japanese, there's no separation between heart and mind. In the let animals lead practice, there's no separation between heart and mind. It's called kokuro, where your heart and your mind are in perfect balance so that you can make wise and compassionate decisions. And that's really the importance of this practice. We have to be wise when we're compassionate. Doesn't mean we're going to be pitying or feeling sorry or judging. It means that we're going to be wise and see what is really transforming before our eyes, and see with our heart and with our soul at a deeper, deeper level than that. So thank you so much, Tamara. Does anyone
Thank you.
have something? Yes, of course. Have anything else they want to share before we go into our meditation? And again, you can unmute like Tamara did, and you can just start talking. It's totally fine. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Oh, yep.
Oh, go ahead, Joy.
So there's Claudia, and who was the other one? Was it? I didn't see.
You go first, Anne. It's fine.
Oh, it was Anne.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make this really quick. We were talking, Tamara, about animals doing, especially cats, are so independent, doing things on their own terms. I had a cat before I moved here to Panama. It was just a few years ago that I knew had a heart murmur. And, you know, he loved these treats, which I would give him all the time. And I never went back and had it checked. I knew he was a rescue. I knew he would live out his life, and he was always very healthy. He never had any issues. And then one day when I went for a walk, we said goodbye, gave him his treats, took my dog, got him on the leash and everything. And my cat looked at me. I gave him a treat. He looked at me, had a heart attack right in front of me, and died, like literally right in front of me. And I thought, oh my God, that's horrible. Well, I gathered myself because I had the Reiki tools to, like, okay, this is not about me. He's gone. Do I give a mouth to mouth? Do I do CPR? Like, he was totally gone. We went on my walk. As I meditated, I came back to his body. I realized, oh, he wanted to do this on his own. He wanted to show me that he was going, because he didn't want me to worry, like, to come home to find a dead cat. You know, think about what that would be like, right? So he's like, no, I'm just going to make this easy for you. I'm going to go on my own terms, and I'm going to do it right in front of you. The dog that I had at that time was more difficult to euthanize. So I think this cat, later reflecting back, taught me that this was how he wanted to go on his terms. And I got to learn from that, because it helped me to prepare for my dog when he passed away. So that's all I wanted to say. But yeah.
Thank you for that, Anne, because it is so true. Every experience we have with these animals helps us to grow and learn and experience. And that's another thing they come to teach us, is so that we can let go a little bit, right? And they have to go at some time, but it's so much nicer when they can go on their terms and also help us with our growing, with our growth. I mean, every animal that's passed in my life I've been better each time, right? And we're really growing and expanding. So Claudia, really quickly, want to share?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that can also be the other way around, right? So we had to take our little kitty Darcy to the vet. When we came home from holiday, she was breathing heavily. And she is feline leukemia virus kitty. So we thought, okay, that's a upper respiratory thing, and we expected her to get something for that, take her back home. There it turned out that her lungs had filled with fluids, she had congestive heart failure, and up until that moment there was nothing, right? So all seemed fine. So yeah, so the vet suggested she'd go to the animal hospital, get a drain, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so while the vet was putting the request in, how do you call it? Well, for the hospital, I was in the waiting room meditating, doing Reiki with her. And all of a sudden, she just showed me this huge bright light. And she said, like, okay, no, I don't want a drain. I don't want to go to the hospital. Please let me go. I'm ready. And so we decided to do that, right? So in this case, it was the vet pressuring us to do more, and she showing us, like, no, this is not what I want. This is not who I am. I cannot live with a drain. And it didn't come from me. It clearly came from her after Reiki, after meditation. So
I love that you said that, because Tamara was very lucky. Well, it's not lucky. So it's really funny how vets act. Like, honestly, Tamara, I've never heard a vet or their clinic like encouraging you to, like, it's time for the cat to go. Because usually what vets do is what they did to Claudia. they'll go, oh, we can do this, 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 and this. We can do this, 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 and this. And it's money, money, money. It's a lot of, and you're like, well, how much longer will they be able to live? Oh, a couple months, 3 months, even if sometimes they say a year, you think you have to stop and say, is this for me or is this for them? Am I really looking at what their situation is, right? So like for Tamara, she had to really stop and say, they're pressuring me to euthanize. I don't feel like this is the right road for my animal. With Claudia, they're pressuring me to do something to heal. This isn't the right path for my animal. And I've had that too, where, I had a dog and luckily he took the decision out of the vet's hands and he passed away. But that's another reason why our practice is so important. We have to be able to, again, make wise and compassionate decisions for our animals. And when you're in that panic mode, when you're in that, oh my gosh, I need to make this better, the vet's telling me I can make this better, you have to stop and say, okay, is this about me? Is this about my animal? What is my animal trying to say? And it's not about animal communication. And I encourage you, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't, Claudia is an animal communicator. I'm not an animal communicator, but if you're in your practice, you can really feel and hear what your animal's trying to tell you. But let's say you don't trust yourself, then get an animal communicator to help you with that. But also meditating with your animal. And again, you don't have to have animal Reiki experience to do this. Play a meditation, quiet your mind, and just connect. And we're going to do that right now. I want you all to get comfortable and let's bring our hands into Gasho. Bringing your hands into this prayer pose in itself, if you do this every time you meditate, this right here is like Pavlov's response. You'll find you just go instantly into calm. And we close our eyes to close out all outside distractions. And we take a deep breath and release. And let us set our intent that we're open to receiving whatever it is that we need most at this moment in time. That we are open to connecting to any animal or animals that would like to connect with us at this time. And we dedicate the beautiful energy that we're creating to all sentient beings. And whenever you're ready, you can bring your hands face up or face down on your lap. And we'll just take a nice cleansing breath, breathing in deeply through your nose, expanding your belly, and then slowly releasing your breath out your mouth and really releasing as much air as you can so that your out breath is longer than your in breath. And just do a couple more of those breaths. Focusing on bringing in peace and breathing out tension. And now I'd like you to imagine that there is a light at your heart. And as you breathe in, your light expands at your heart center. And as you breathe out, visualize the light at your heart coming out and could be creating a bridge or a walkway. Just a beautiful pathway of light. And as you breathe in and out, feel your light. Feel the love of your light, the compassion, the support that you're offering, the joy, the peace. This light, this beautiful lit pathway is everything good. It is everything pure about you. It is filled with love, compassion, wisdom, peace, and joy. And just allow yourself to feel this beautiful beam of light emanating from your heart center. Feel yourself becoming happier, more joyful as you focus on the light from your heart. Reminding yourself that this center, your heart center, is your truest connection to the animals. And now bring to mind an animal or animals that you'd like to connect with. It can be an animal that you love, an animal that you know well, or it could be like the whales or the dolphins or the elephants. Just allow yourself to be open. And if you don't feel an animal connecting with you, that's okay. Just focus on the love at your heart. If your mind starts to wander, bring it back to the light at your heart, to the feeling of love and compassion. And if an animal chooses to be with you, feel that connection. Feel your love being mirrored back to you. Feel your light brighten as they connect. In this space, this is true connection, where we allow ourselves to be our purest form of light and love, of peace, of wisdom and compassion. In this space, we let go of all need to fix. We allow ourselves to be in this beautiful elevated space with our animal or animals. Although we're going to have to close our meditation, I encourage you, just keep the light at your heart open. If you've connected with an animal or animals, allow yourself to say, I'm closing the meditation for this session, but I'm keeping my heart energy open. And then you can continue with this meditation or just keep this beautiful feeling with you throughout the day. We bring our hands into Gasho. We allow ourselves to focus back on our breath. Allow yourself to focus on this beautiful opening at your heart. A feeling of love and light, of peace and beauty emanating from you. And we set our intent that we're finishing this meditation for class, but that we're carrying this energy of love with us. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring yourself back. And so, Joy, thank you so much for saying it's a very important evening. Thank you for your stories and saying again, we're doing this for them. So important. Thank you. Next week, we're going to have Scarlet on the call. I'm super excited for that. And look also for the recap on Friday. And I'll put in some little pointers and I'll share that beautiful picture of the butterfly that Shrek sent me. So thank you all so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you. I feel so much love from this group. And it's what I love best about this community, that we're all such open-hearted, compassionate people. And this is such a beautiful, safe space that we are always creating. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for just your support, your love, for mirroring back to me, for your stories, for all of you, Anne, Claudia, Tamara, everybody in the chat, Cherise, thank you so much for sharing. And Monica, I really appreciate it. And I will see you all next week, hopefully. And until then, have a beautiful week and be sure to share this love from your heart and practice this meditation. Very simple. Just beam that love from your heart. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Gilly. I'm so happy to see you here. Thank you so much, everyone. Mwah. See you next week. Bye.